Hello, how there? My name is Laulu Akonde and you are on to Inside Sources. And here is my take for the week entitled The Protest Matters Are Rising. Let us once again applaud the public spirit of those Nigerians who came out to protest, thereby holding our government at the federal and state levels accountable. And there are a few observations I would like to add. Number one, all the talking about possible partisan or political motives behind the protest, they are not very necessary. At best, they are secondary considerations. Why? Because there is no major political party in this country, whether it is APC or PDP, that is not responsible for what today is happening in our country. So there is no point for any of the leaders of either of the parties, especially the current opposition, to try to suggest that this is the problem caused only by one party. The situation of our dear country today is the handiwork of several administrations, even all the way beyond the Fourth Republic. My second point is that the way and manner the protest played out in some states, such as Kano, Kaduna, Sokoto, Gombe, and a few others, is raising critical security concerns, especially for two or three reasons. The first reason is the use of the flag of a foreign nation and the involvement of foreigners. That looks to me like something that is serious. Number two is the not so subtle calls for the military to take over in some of the protests in some of the states. That is a little bit worrying. And of course, thirdly, some of the violent manifestations and the needless deaths that have been reportedly recorded. That's sad. Now, that brings up what Professor Wole Soyinka said, and his observation ought to cause us, all of us, a bit of reflection. According to him, regarding the security management of the protest, I quote him, "The serving of bullets where bread is pleaded is an ominous retrogression, and we know what that eventually proves, a prelude to far more upheavals." End of quote. Besides that, we expect our security agencies to expose those who may have orchestrated the use of foreign flags and foreign nationals, and also arrest anyone responsible for the violence. We expect our security agencies to expose all that are involved. If any of the elite is responsible for these despicable acts, the nation must be told. If there are notable Nigerians trying to push the narrative of a military takeover using the people in the crowds, our security agencies should investigate and expose these things. If there are disgruntled politicians who don't want to wait for the election in 2027, but want to use all of this to sack the government of the day against the Constitution, we must be told. And we are not talking of the arrest of some innocuous poor Nigerians in the crowd who are merely doing what they are told. We are talking about those who are actually responsible for the orchestrating of the flying of the flags, of involvement of foreigners, and getting poor people to do their bidding. Number three, Mr. President's speech is a good idea, especially with him standing to address the nation. That's good, but the speech could have achieved more. For instance, the speech could have picked some of the major demands of the protesters and addressed them by explaining if and why the federal government could not afford some of those demands. That could have helped. But besides that, state governors also must take a significant portion of the responsibility. The governors have considerable authority. They have significant resources to make things happen in their states. States have responsibility for education, health, agriculture, and so on. For instance, there are more than 20 states, possibly 24, in this country that are not accessing the Universal Basic Education Commission federal funds to support basic education. This is free federal government money. They are not even accessing it because they refuse to put down the counterpart funding with all the money they get. So, except in few instances, most of the states are still not doing their jobs diligently, but they are busy passing the buck to the federal government and to the president. That's not difficult to do. even for matters for which they have constitutional powers. Finally, when all is told, those protesters who managed to organize themselves peacefully and who expressed their displeasure with the state of the nation, those who couldn't fathom any hope as yet and chose to make a public show of it, not only do they have the right to do so, but they have advanced our collective public interest, and we must applaud them. Good job. And there you have my take for the week. Inside Sources. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Inside Sources. As we continue our conversation on the future of Nigeria, today we have a special guest. She's a professor of pharmaceutics, manufacturing, and drug evaluation. She's also the first African woman to be a fellow of the American Association of Pharmaceutics. She's currently the Director General of NAFDAC, and she's here on Inside Sources. Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, you are welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
And thank you for coming to Inside Sources.
Thank you. All
right, so before we get into your area of specialization, I wanted you to also talk about what is going on in the country. It seems that quite a bit of our people, especially young people, are not happy with the state of things. There has been protests all over the place. Government says that, look, we're going to take care of it. What do you have to say about the situation?
Oh, wow. The situation in our country is a reflection of 6 decades of decadence. 6 decades of decadence. I was young when we got our independence, and I knew Nigeria that worked. I knew Nigeria that worked.
Interesting.
We left the country for further studies in 1980.
Yeah.
And we were part of the ones that fought for the democracy of this country. My husband and others.
Professor Shola Adeyeye.
Yes, fought for the democracy of this country with our current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Some of them had broken homes. Some of those, our men in diaspora, because they were not there. They were always begging other countries to help us, to deliver us.
From military rule then?
From military rule then. At a point, one of my friends said, Auntie Moji, is something wrong with you and your husband?
That was in the US.
In the US. Because he was teaching on Tuesday and Thursday. And those are the days that he was present at home. Going with other leaders of Nigeria to beg other countries to help us. So I take whatever is happening now personally. That was what made him to come back home after 22 years.
Yeah, he came back in 1999.
In 2002.
Okay, and he contested?
He contested as chairman of his local government. Actually, no, he was an interim chairman.
Okay, yes.
And people were shocked as to what happened to his Ifedayo local government within 1 year. Before he came, there was no light for 6 months.
This was in Osun State?
In Osun State, Ifedayo, Osun Central. There was no light for 6 months. He brought light back.
To the local government?
There was no water for maybe decades, 17 years or so. There was water. He was wearing knicker.
To walk?
To walk. And they said, oh, you're supposed to be wearing agbada. He said, really? It was the best job he ever did.
Considering the fact that he had been professor in the US.
In the US. So what is happening now, I take it personally.
Wow.
I was there for 37 years because I had to take care of the children. You know, both of us couldn't come. We call it war front. Some of my friends in the church said, why didn't you follow Shola to Nigeria? I said, really? Do you follow a soldier to the war front?
I like that.
Yeah. Wow. Because we still have to keep the family. He sacrificed a lot. So are others.
Yeah.
In the pro-democracy movement.
Yes.
37 years, I came back. And, of course, my profession is pharmacy.
Right.
I was a professor for 30 years before I retired from the US system. And I came back to a country that I couldn't recognize in terms of our values, in terms of the state of the pharmaceutical industry, in terms of the state of the quality of medicine, or generally healthcare delivery. That's why I started with, it is a result of 6 decades of decadence. Our third, the new national anthem, O God of all creation, and the last 2 stanzas, in peace and plenty, may Nigeria be blessed. In peace and plenty. We are not looking for utopian system. It will not happen.
There's no utopia.
However, our people deserve the best within the context of our resources.
Right.
But our values have gone. Our values have gone. And it started from the home. If the parents are not doing what they're supposed to do, if the church or the mosque are not doing what they're supposed to do,
if they're not preaching what
if they're not preaching what they're supposed to do, to preach rather, if the schools are not the way they're supposed to be, if the universities are not what they're supposed to be, it goes right up to the highest level of functionality of a society. So what is happening now is very, very painful for me. I'm a realist because after 37 years
abroad,
and coming back, I could say, oh, I'm going to heaven, I'm going to a heaven. No, the reality is there that you've got to sacrifice.
Yeah.
You've got to give something. We were very comfortable in the US, but it's not all about comfort.
Yeah.
It's all about making significant impact to change the society.
Yeah.
In peace and plenty, may Nigeria be blessed. We cannot be blessed without
peace.
Peace, without a transparent society. We cannot be blessed if we have corruption. Corruption has eaten to the fiber of the society.
This is true.
When I got to NAFDAC, I met 3.2 billion naira debt.
Wow.
And 500 million naira that between maybe between August and September, October, November, 500 million naira. I said, hello.
What happened to 500 million?
There was no account really for it that was spent just before.
Oh, just before you came in?
Just before I came in. So the 3.2 is there.
Well, is it there?
Billion debt. Then 500 million. Yes.
You couldn't account for?
They couldn't really account. I said, did you have a capital project? That time, bear in mind, 1 million naira is $2,000.
Yeah.
So $2,000 times 500 million. I'm coming from the US, where money is hard to get.
Me too.
You work hard for your money. You know, I could have said, oh, there's no way. I've given up. No. I saw an opportunity and I seized it. Tough. I said, if this were the US, NAFDAC could have been declared bankrupt. And then a financial house would be managing our finance. But we didn't even have money. So I didn't have money to hire a financial house. My point is, we have enough endowment in this country to make things better. And I'm using NAFDAC as an example.
Yeah.
I met debt on the ground. I said, hello, I'm going to cut to the bone. I'm going to cut to the bone. I'm going to be using technology to ensure that our system moves on. We started Zoom in March 2018.
Okay. Zoom meetings.
Zoom meetings, virtual meetings.
And by the way, you came in 2017.
I came in 2017, November.
Yeah.
And many people didn't like it because travel, DTA.
A lot of money.
Money.
Yeah.
Because we have to save.
So you have been doing Zoom meeting even before
the pandemic.
Interesting.
Yes, because we have to save. How can we plug the holes where money was gushing from? That is what you are supposed to do as a nation. And this present government has that opportunity. When I got to NAFDAC, it was, aside from the debt, there was so much disunity
among the staff.
Everybody was working in their own, cliques. No lab, no equipment in the lab, no vehicles for inspection. Not a single director had a laptop in 2017 that NAFDAC bought.
Oh. So how were they working?
Maybe first principle.
Manually.
Writing everything down,
And this was 2017?
This was 2017 November. Literally 2018. But I said, things must change. We have to change our mindset.
Absolutely.
The way God works is mysterious in my own life, because I had the opportunity to be in an institution where things didn't work when I got there. And the president that got there a few months before me said, the brains of everybody needs to be washed. This is the US. And we started what is called quality management system, where you think of your customer, where you think of the people you are delivering services to. And that we need transparency, lack of corruption, or mitigation of corruption.
Significant mitigation.
Yes. Sacrifice, we started that. Again, I'm using NAFDAC as a microcosm.
Right.
Because we have enough in this country to make life manageable. We don't have a lot of money as a country, but if we manage it well,
we will be okay.
We will be okay. And I believe President Tinubu knows how to do that. We fought together in the trenches because the families are the same,
Yeah.
So what is happening now, I want to liken it to what I met in NAFDAC. I said we started quality management system. We started benchmarking ourselves against the best in the world.
Oh, wow.
Not against ourselves. You cannot compare yourself with yourself.
Exactly.
You cannot even compare yourself with somebody at your level. You have to compare yourself with somebody at, yes. But it's patience. It is patience. Up till now, we are not there yet. And we started 6 years ago. And that is what I will want our people in Nigeria to realize. That we have to be patient. But we have to tell the truth also to our leaders.
It's important.
I don't surround myself with sycophants. I have my kitchen cabinet. I will ask them, what do you think? What do you think? I put the interest of the country first before my interest. If we can be patient and let this government work, I believe things will happen. Why? Because President Tinubu understands how things can work. However, it will take a lot of sacrifice, a lot of wisdom, a lot of who you surround yourself with, a lot of saying no.
Yeah.
When it's difficult to say no. I don't give bribes, I don't take bribes. I don't give bribes, I don't take bribes. Yeah. That doesn't mean that I cannot help people, or you're looking for a job for your people. They have to be qualified.
Yeah.
They will have to go for exam.
Right.
They have to go for interview.
Right.
Just to do things with due diligence. So I will just tell our people, we need to be patient. I understand where they are coming from. But by the grace of God, and I don't use God flippantly.
Okay.
In peace and plenty, may Nigeria be blessed.
Amen. Transparency,
mitigation of corruption. Let us say no.
And sacrifice.
Those are the types of attributes that will make things change.
Thank you for your opening remarks, and I like the perspective that you have taken. And you've raised quite a number of issues. Talked about the fact that we have to reduce corruption. There has to be transparency, and there has to be sacrifice. So do you believe that, or how do you think we can pass this message to young people?
Living by example. Living by example. I have 3 children. They know what I can do, what I cannot do. They know where yes is yes, no is no. We have to live by example. And children can be very forgiving.
That's true.
Once they know that the adults are changing, they will tune in. So we just have to live by example, using some of the attributes that I mentioned. Reduce corruption, be very transparent,
and be ready to sacrifice.
Unfortunately, our children were not brought up that way. That is why the adults have to work
extra,
twice as hard or 3 times as hard to make them understand. Actually, to apologize. What I enjoyed as a child, many of the children are not enjoying. The trust that I have in the system is not there. And we caused it. Our generation caused it. So that is part of the reason why we have to embrace them and reason with them. Reason with them that we understand this, and just to be transparent, nothing cooked up, what they want to hear, but living by example.
And that will solve a lot of problems. I can imagine, because if people see the examples, and just like you make the analogy of parents, I'm a father of 2 children myself. So, and I know the power of example. They look up to you. And it's not what you say. It's actually
what you do.
They're looking at what you do. All right. Okay. So let's come to, your role, your work as the Director General of NAFDAC. You've been in office since 2017.
Yes.
What will you consider, and you've said quite a lot of things even in your introduction, maybe I should ask you first that what have you been able to change, especially based on what you said at the beginning, what you meant. How have you been able to change the situation? How will you describe what has happened since 2017?
I'm trying to make every staff to feel part of the system. We just finished a series of leadership training.
Oh, excellent.
And leadership and anti-corruption training for our 2,000 staff.
Oh, great. Because
we need to change the mindset. I mentioned 6 decades of decadence.
Yeah.
And some of these young people are part and parcel of that period in our history. So we do a lot of training and emotional intelligence. I was a professor for 30 years, and I was in a system where you can predict
what will happen.
Not here. You cannot predict many times. So the skills that I've learned included more emotional intelligence. My first day, resumption, I met the directors and I met the union. Because the union was always on strike. Always on strike. And I met them, discussed with them that we are in this together. I want to be sure that the workforce is motivated, but you have to also discipline them.
Yeah.
Motivated workforce and disciplined workforce. It's like you have a child, you spank the child, but you also use the other hand to caress and make the child to know why were you disciplined, not punished. So this emotional intelligence, aside from the fiduciary disciplining, making sure that things don't ooze out and whatnot.
Right.
Is making them to feel that they are part of the system.
Team. Yeah.
Yes. One of my directors, when I first got in, I did restructuring.
Right.
Governance is extremely important.
Very true.
And you have to be ready to be alone, to feel lonely as a leader.
It's lonely at the top.
Yes. To feel lonely, but lonely in a good way.
Yeah.
So this director said, there's a new sheriff in town was talking to the staff that all the corruption in the past should stop. That he learned that some of you were corrupt, and they all dropped their heads. And then one person raised their hand up and said, "Sir, it is all of us that are corrupt."
Oh.
That was what the staff group told this director. He said that because the DG was doing it, so they did it too. Living by example. We spend a lot of time in NAFDAC. We are short-staffed. We're supposed to be like, yes, we're supposed to be like 5 times, 6 times what we have now.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And when you now that a staff is working in that type of environment, the more you need to recognize the sacrifice.
Right.
Communication, extremely important. And that's part of transparency.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If I call a staff on WhatsApp, we may end up later with 7-6 staff on that same WhatsApp call.
Wow.
Because I want the information to go around. I don't want somebody to misquote me. And I don't like to repeat myself. So this financial discipline, strong governance, motivated workforce, disciplined workforce, these are working for us. We are not there yet. And that's what I want Nigerians to know. Since decades of decadence, it cannot change overnight. But we need to have the right people in the right places to do the right things.
Interesting. So, and I'm sure that you're going to be seeing the fruits, of what seems to be the hard work. And of course, because I was also in government part of when you were appointed, so I have a lot of insight into some of the work that you are doing. But I wanted us to also discuss, the issue of ease of doing business. So you have a lot of people, especially young people, who are coming up with ideas, skincare here and there, even food-related, water, and all kinds of very, tantalizing business ideas.
Exactly.
And they say that, it takes forever to get their product registration. With NAFDAC, there are those who even say that, there's so much documentation that is required, that you have to come up with a standard operating procedure, at times they have to do laboratory testing of their product. While it's about safety, but I wanted to ask you, so how do you balance these things so that, at the end of the day, you can encourage those who really have the passion, the capacity, the readiness, the willingness to actually do innovative things and create their businesses? That's
a very, very good topic that you have brought. I got to NAFDAC 2017, and I believe MSMEs was launched early 2017.
Yes. The MSMEs clinics.
Yes, but nothing was really done on the ground. Because there was a lot of internal chaos. So one DG left, another DG came, So literally we started MSMEs in 2018. It's not just MSMEs that we have. We have N MSMEs, nano.
Nano, that's even smaller than...
Yes. I was brought up by my mother and my grandmother who were traders. I love to count pennies and add them up when I was small, So I understand MSMEs very well. However, we started a journey, NAFDAC. We started a journey of quality, doing things from the quality perspective in 2018. At the same time, we started the WHO global benchmarking, where we have to ensure, first of all, the quality management system is about thinking of the customer and documentation. For global benchmarking, we had 868 recommendations to meet.
Wow.
About 868 recommendations or 267 indicators that we have to meet. Each indicator may be 3 recommendations, 4 recommendations.
Wow.
And there is no, please, can you forgive? It's either you get 100 or you don't.
Okay, it's either pass or fail.
Pass or fail.
Oh, wow.
You know. So we started that journey in 2018. And that was when we also started MSMEs. I mentioned that we are chronically short-staffed. Now we were now given the MSMEs project that we need even 2 times, 3 times of the staff that we're supposed to have. So that created a conundrum. Okay, we want to do MSMEs. No computer, no director has laptop. We didn't have vehicles.
Wow.
The lab, 70 to 80% of the equipment were not working.
Wow.
Because somebody is nano or micro doesn't mean we will not test the product. We have to test the product. When they talk about cholera, that maybe it is linked to some homemade juice. It wasn't registered with us, but that could be classified as nano. But it caused a lot of health issues. We have decreased, right from the word go, MSMEs pay very, very little amount, 37,000 naira, compared to millions, for big companies. But to register. But we still use the same scientific methods to do the laboratory testing. We still have to go and inspect. However, we created an incentive that you don't have to build, you have a big building, you can even use your kitchen. If you are doing chin-chin, you are doing puff-puff or whatever, you can use your kitchen, just divide your kitchen up. If you are using cooking utensils, separate cooking utensils that you are going to be using for the regular one.
Right.
You have children, maybe dedicate, maybe 10 to 2 to do your business. When they are out in school or wherever.
Okay, in the morning.
Yes, cottage. Time, exactly. Kitchen, cottage industry type of thing.
Right.
So that is an incentive that we gave them. During the pandemic, for, was it 90 days or 6 months?
Yeah.
We gave 80% off.
Of the
registration.
Or the cost of registration.
Cost of registration.
Oh, wow.
Because we know that many people struggle at the beginning, but once they become successful, they will be a little bit better off. But all these need staff. It is staff that will go to the market to do risk-based post-approval or post-marketing surveillance. So, but it is very, very tough. Now, when we got to level 3, it was like we are just starting because everybody now sees us. I'm now 3 times, 4 times busier than before when we get there, because we are now recognized worldwide.
Okay.
That NAFDAC is coming up. When NAFDAC talks, people listen. Now.
Anyway, it's a good thing because you've been given the second term, so we are hoping and praying that God will give you the strength and the ability with your team.
Thank you.
To get there. I have a last question because of our time that I also would like to ask you. So, what do you think about the role and place of women in national development? We've had situations where even a bill has gone up in the National Assembly to create some kind of quota system, affirmative action for women. In the last National Assembly, it didn't go through; it fell through, but I think it's coming back again. Now, do you think that kind of thing can help, or what's your own view? How can we get more women involved in the political process or generally national development? Because we need to.
First of all, I need to thank my husband because he's sacrificing a lot. That I'm working this hard at this time in our life.
That's true.
Any country that doesn't include women in their governance, that country is not going to grow.
I agree.
That country is not going to grow.
And that's why it's such an important issue.
Because God has given everybody endowment. Boys, girls, women, men.
Different endowments.
Different endowments to contribute to the society. If it's going to be done by quota, why not? We are missing out. We are missing out big time if we don't involve women. Let me tell you about women. We are wired differently, physiologically, compared to men.
I agree.
But we are wired differently for the purpose of a stable society, so that the society will be stable.
True.
Men, they go straight and they know where they are going. Women, we would think, what of if this, what of that, what of that. The two combined, wow.
Yeah.
That is why any country that leaves women out, that country is missing a lot. And that society cannot grow. Because we have different ways of looking at things, but when the two genders come together to now reason together, magic happens.
Magical, wow. Well, I agree with you entirely, myself, that, we have to find ways to bring more women. Women have look at your perspective, even at the beginning of the program, are very unique and honest, frank, but yet very, very acceptable. Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, the Director General of NAFDAC. Thank you for your views. Thank you for supporting Professor Shoda Adeyeye, and thank you for being part of the struggle. Even,
thank you.
I'm sure with Nalicon and NADECO in the US, I knew quite a bit of that. And thank you for coming to Inside Sources.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate your service to the country.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today, we want to focus on the Nigerian youth, especially with the recent protests that we have seen. And what is the future that the Nigerian youth have? What is the future for Nigerian youth? And today I have a notable Nigerian youth with me in the studio. Is the founder of the Foundation for Investigative Journalism, and is also the editor-in-chief. I'd like to welcome Fisayo Shoyombo to Inside Sources.
Thank you, Mr. Akwande.
I normally start my conversation around the future of the country. And because of what had happened last week, young people are clearly dissatisfied with the state of the nation. There's hunger, there's hardship, and many of the people that came out were young people. So I figured out that it's important for us to begin to have a conversation about the issues that are important to the young people in the light of the protest. So my first question to you, Fisayo, is that what do you think is the reaction of young people to the speech that the president gave, which was meant to at least say that, look, let's calm down, this is what I'm doing. What do you think, what impression did that leave young people in this country?
The first thing is that I'm actually in doubt that what was going on in the mind of the president was, let us calm these people down. I don't think that's what was in their mind, because the speech did nothing close to calming people down. It only made people feel, the president has spoken, why else are you protesting? The president spent time telling us about what he did in the past. We launched this initiative, we launched that initiative. All those initiatives were in place and the people were still dissatisfied. People were still hungry. People were still poor. People were finding it hard to live as Nigerians, to afford the basics. People on the streets are not protesting because they want to own cars, they want to build houses, they want to fly abroad, they want to go on vacation. It's because they want to eat. And the president's speech did not address how people would be able to put food on their table. And as long as that is not done, going forward, not what he did in the past, what he would do arising from the protest, He didn't achieve that, and the people on the streets are still upset, are still angry.
Like most people, we do understand that there is indeed hardship. Clearly, I don't think anybody contests that.
I don't think the president understands. I don't think the people around him understand. Because the president, in the first few sentences, said people with political agenda. It's not about agenda. People are genuinely hungry. I know the number of people who ask me for money daily. Who am I? Who reach out and say, I need help, we need help, school fees, eat. People are genuinely frustrated in this country. I think people in the presidency have scant understanding of the hardship that the average Nigerian faces today. And that has to be clear. That people are hungry, that, of course, opposition would always be opposition. When they were in the opposition, they were interested in protest. So I don't think they should expect the current opposition to behave otherwise. But beyond opposition politicking, the reality is that there is something that unites people, the average man on the street right now, and it is hunger.
By the way, I was going to say that if you look at the demands, I had worked in government for a little time before I came back to my day job. It's almost impossible for the president to reverse the pump price of fuel. It's almost impossible for the reversal of that. But hey, yeah, you're right. It doesn't address, some of them doesn't address the immediate problem of hunger. But my question to you is that, is it possible, can we realistically say that the demand to reverse the pump price?
There are two things I'm going to say. The first is that I was always for retention of subsidy. Why? The president said it, that it was wasteful, that, some people, a clique of people had taken over.
Right.
It was benefiting a few people and not the public. So the question is, the president and commander-in-chief cannot identify the people benefiting from the waste and deal with them, cannot stop the rot, and then ensure that it then... Because the reality is that... So I ask myself, what does the government do for me? I run an organization, pay corporate tax, pay personal tax, almost generate my lights, because we had to find a way to have solar inverter in the office. We can't rely on electricity. When it's there, it's expensive. The roads are bad. What exactly am I benefiting from the government as a Nigerian? By the way, the government benefits from me because I am a law-abiding Nigerian and I pay taxes to the government. Now, there are two things that any president should be very careful about, two economic policies that a president should be very careful about. Number one is fuel. The understanding that petrol pump price is connected to the Nigerian economy. Because electricity is bad, we're going to buy fuel for our generators. That's what cars use for. One of the live wires of our economy is fuel. If you touch it, you've touched everything else. Everything.
Apparently.
And then the second is that we are an import-dependent country. We don't export, we don't produce, we don't manufacture. By the way, I did an undercover investigation on smuggling, and some people in government were offended. But it's also about the economy that you are reaping genuine producers of. You are reaping farmers off. Farmers are not profiting, but because people, cronies of people in government are smuggling chicken, turkey, but livestock producers in this country don't have the benefit. So we are an import-dependent country. You have to find any way possible to make sure that the naira to dollar rate is not so bad that it then affects everything. Because we import everything. We don't manufacture. How many things we manufacture in this country? Now, the president came and then, stopped defending the naira. And now it's that bad that everything is expensive in multiples. So those two things, the president didn't... Look, for me, it was a bad decision to end the subsidy on the basis of the argument that it was benefiting just a few people. You can't be commander-in-chief and not be able to rein in a few people. So why are you commander-in-chief if you can't do that? That's one. Then two is that now there's so much hardship in the land, but you can afford to renovate the vice president's office for more than 21 billion naira. Right? Lawmakers can get SUVs. The lawmakers came on there and deceived the people they could deceive, not someone, not someone like me, that they were going to donate half of their salaries. In the first place, they lied about the value of their salaries. They claimed they were earning 600,000. There is no Nigerian lawmaker, House of Rep member who earns less than 900 and something thousand in salaries, not in allowances where they make the bulk of their funds for. Now, even the 50% donation they promised hasn't happened, hasn't happened. So the people...
Well, maybe this is the first month.
No. They've received July salaries. They had that conversation in the middle of July just to placate the public.
So how do you know that they've
no, because FIJ tracked it. They've received salaries. One of the lawmakers was on Channels TV. He showed his alert. It was 930-something thousand naira. The person who moved the motion for donation had lied that they were earning 600,000. Even after lying, they still couldn't keep the promise of donating half. So if you have people in government who live large, who are extravagant, who don't care, who live as if there is an excess of funds, you can't then tell the people to suffer, to manage, and not expect them to grow. Now, I don't support violence. I never will support violence. But you see, what you are seeing in those northern states is a real reflection that people have lost their minds. People have become so hungry that they have lost their minds, especially those who are not educated or on the streets. They then don't know. If they don't want to know if it's the governor or the president or the lawmaker or the businessman, if you seem to live fine, you have your own provision store, you have your own organization, you are riding your car, then you are an enemy. And that's why they can loot anywhere they want to loot. That's why they can destroy property. They don't see a future for themselves in their own country. And you see, when people lose their minds, it will be almost impossible to bring them back to order, to make them think, to make them act rationally. And that's why you see all those violence. I don't excuse it, but you have to understand why the violence exists. It's not everything that you link to opposition. People are hungry and angry and cannot think straight, and we therefore take laws into their hands.
Right. You're right that we wouldn't support violence, and I think that there is a unanimity, around that. But of course, like we explained, some of the things, especially in the north, but I am a little bit surprised that it's in the north that this thing is actually becoming a little bit, disorderly. I remember when we had the NSAS in 2020, that, there wasn't much of that much noise in the north. It was mainly a southwest Lagos center thing. What do you think is responsible for that difference between this time and that time?
Because then it wasn't completely about economic hardship. It was about oppression. It was about policemen shooting people, harassing people, assaulting people. That was the original trigger.
I see.
The hardship came to contribute. There are people who joined because they didn't see a life for themselves in the country. But the original trigger was oppression, high-handedness for NSAS.
Right.
That's
okay.
But this is purely about the fact that people cannot eat. That's the difference.
Interesting. So what do you think as a young person, the government can do? And now I think it's not just the federal government to resonate with young people.
First of all, the government should not force things. The state should not force things. In Lagos, at Ojota, the police were the ones who chased journalists away because protesters didn't come early enough, and the police said, your presence here is a risk to the neighborhood. Police started chasing journalists away.
Because the protesters hadn't arrived.
And they were journalists, and they just wanted the journalists to leave. And then hoodlums took over, and the police watched from a distance.
In Ojota?
Yes, and hoodlums started New Central TV. There's a video that FIJ put out. New Central TV journalists were literally pushed into their bus by hoodlums, within clubs, whatever. And then the police watched from a distance and then turned away and left. Now, especially in Lagos, I can tell you that you can't have violence without the hands of, people connected to the state. Maybe overzealous people, maybe planned by the state, I don't know. But you're trying to force people off the streets. I don't think that's a strategy. It's for the president to, not like I think it's going to happen, but what the president should have done, or can still do, is speak to the people from his heart And forget about opposition, forget about people planning, forget about saying international funders are, bankrolling the people who are speaking. Realize that without a connecting point, even if there were backers out of the country, it wouldn't have worked. So speak to the people, let them know what you plan to do going forward. Forget what you've done in the past that you are coming to real, and those things, are still subject to interrogation. But tell the people what you want to do going forward, and understand that two things really have to change. The naira has to be strengthened against the dollar so that, because we import virtually everything. Things are expensive. Nobody, a lot of people can't cope. You have to tackle that, and then you have to tackle fuel, the pump price of fuel. You must understand that whatever strategy you are coming up with, those two really have to come down. And then when those two come down, the prices of commodities will come down. Then the hardship in the land will reduce.
Final question. So I do know that Foundation for Investigative Journalism has done quite a number of stories around smuggling, around some contracts that were done in places like Lagos by important government functionaries, and I know that there have been quite a number. As a matter of fact, the first PRO did say on PoliticsToday on channels that people are writing petitions against you. So can you just give us an update? So where are you with the Nigerian state?
Okay. It's unfortunate, but, I've come to the understanding and the knowledge that there are quite a number of people in the government, in security agencies, who are trying to frustrate our work. And our work is not about individuals. It's about the country. For every single story that FIG has done, I can link it to something that benefits the country. Smuggling is about the security, the territorial integrity of the country and the economy. Now, one of the recent examples, heartbreaking to find that a journalist wrote about misappropriation of funds, because if the office of the special advisor to the president on SDGs says we are going to have a block of classrooms in a school.
Where was this?
In Lagos. Okay. And you go to that school, and the school does not have the capacity to take a block of classrooms. It's not that they didn't build the school. It's not that they didn't build the school. The school, even if they wanted to build the building does not have the capacity.
So did you see that money was released for the building?
Of course, money was released.
And you have evidence that money was released for the building?
It's public. It's not. It's the FIJ did not generate the original document. It's public. It's on gov spend.
So is this federal government money?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we've written about the people who got the award. The reporter reached out to them, FIJ reached out to them. They were struggling. They couldn't even defend. They came back much later to come and say, they put the project in another place very far because they found out that the soil. So you didn't do soil testing before you released 100 and something million naira to build a cluster of classrooms. The police should be interested, in whether that building. The police did not go to the school, because if they did, they would have found that, look, it's not just that FIJ wrote that this project was not done. It's about the fact that even if they wanted to do it, the space for that project did not exist.
So was it that they put the building somewhere else?
You have to ask them. And now what they have done, abduct a journalist. First PRO was saying it's an arrest. The police can arrest, of course. But when you take someone, you deny the person access to family, to friends, to lawyers, that's an abduction. That has to be clear. And then now...
That was your journalist.
Yes. And then now, you release him on bail and you tell him to come from Lagos to Abuja once every 2 weeks. Now, that's media repression.
Now, is the police going to pay for his travels?
No. Not just that they're not going to pay for his travels. Now, after...
Why can't he report in Lagos?
You have to ask the police. They have to answer. Unfortunately, I wish I could answer. Now, not just that, after abducting him for 10 days, I use him on bail, and then Orelokpade Fuluri has then sent a pre-action letter to say, if you don't apologize, and our lawyers have said, we're not going to apologize, let's have a case. So you can't have that going on. The complainant is about to, or has notified us of our intention to institute a case in court, then the police still say that the guy should be coming once every 2 weeks. So what are you really trying to achieve? So it's not then, and that's why, someone like I have scant regard for the institution that the police is, because it is for the highest bidder, it is for the powerful, for the rich. It's not for the poor man. It's not for the honest man.
Well, they wouldn't say that.
No, but the evidence is clear, because if we have written that the project was not done, you can't go and abduct the journalist without you, as the police, claiming to be conducting investigations. You held this guy for 10 days. You said you were investigating. Your investigation did not include going to that school. Because the school does not have the space for that project. You didn't go to the school. So then you now think, oh, journalists are attacking you. But they will never respect you. They won't value whatever you are doing, because it's so clear. Look, if you are going to oppress the media, at least do it in a very smart way. Do it for cases where the lines are blurred, not for stuff like this. There's a lawsuit that is coming, and then the police still want the guy to be coming every day. So what exactly are they trying to achieve? If there is a case in court, then the police should let the case happen.
Have its course.
And then you keep saying you want to see me. I don't know what else I want to answer to. You know, what my organization does a lot of times is write about people who are victims of fraud. We are not the ones that the police should be after. You know, we wrote about smuggling. Somebody wrote a petition to the police, and the police are looking for. Why do you have to look for me? Go and find out if smuggling indeed happens. Look, I'm going to say this on national TV. If the government is really interested in knowing the smugglers, give me 5 policemen, empower them to arrest anybody. Give me 1 month, you will know the smugglers.
Interesting.
Just to kill the conversation about whether Fisayo Oshomba has been lying about smugglers or not. Give me 5 people armed and give me 1 month. We will produce the smugglers.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Fisayo Oshomba, for your service. You know, and thank you for your time. Thank you for coming to Inside Sources. I do hope that you know, since we are in a democratic setting, I do hope that these issues will be sorted out under the rule of law, and you know, with democratic principles, you know, being at the bedrock of it. I believe that the Nigerian police, yes, there are challenges, just like in the Nigerian society itself, but I think they also have they also understand that a challenge is also an opportunity, you know, to make things well, which is essentially the story of our country. It's the reason why many of us believe that, look, if we lend our voices, you know, to right causes, you know, and if we do it with objectivity, you know, sooner or later, you know, the righteous voice will prevail. So don't give up, you know, and we are not giving up. Once again, thank you, Fisayo, for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure.
And that's another edition of Inside Sources. Like we always say, we believe that Nigeria will prevail, and that's why we're here. So hashtag Nigeria will prevail. My name is Laudo Akonde. I'll see you again next week. Thank you for watching Inside Sources.